All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Norman Sandridge. Welcome to an evening with Agamemnon, a most problematic leader. But welcome also to my friend and co-host here, John Esposito, coming to us from Chapel Hill, North Carolina.
Hi, guys.
All right, sorry, I was getting my own voiceover there for a moment. So tonight we have an amazingly complex and elaborate program for you. We're going to bring as many as 10 different people into this hangout. We're going to go first to Howard University and talk to some Howard students about what they are expecting expecting from the Ancient Leadership course. They're going to talk about problems of leadership that they themselves perceive, and they're going to talk about ways in which we can all work together as faculty and students to make this a remarkable and unique experience for everyone. Then after that, we're going to move inside the minds of leaders, ancient and modern, and try to get a better understanding of the phenomenon of dehumanization, that is moments in which leaders don't fully appreciate the minds of other people. And then we're going to move to the University of Findlay in Findlay, Ohio, and hear from some master's students there on their perspectives on who is the better leader, Agamemnon or Achilles, and we'll have a vote about that. And then finally, we will go to Atlanta, Georgia, and Brookline, Massachusetts, to talk to two of the instructors of this course and get a sense for what's working in their teaching of the course and what do they have on the horizon coming up. So as I say, it's an action-packed evening. We're very excited to have everyone here with us. Let me give a quick shout out to the 7 different colleges and universities who are participating in this course. Those of you in the chat room, please say hello, please introduce yourselves. We've got students from Howard University, University of Findlay, Brandeis, Hobart, and William Smith colleges, UT San Antonio, Emory University. Who am I leaving out? Did we get everyone? Oh, Tulane, of course. Tulane, you guys are watching us on a giant screen there, so please say hello. And let me say hello as well to all of those who are participating in this course online with John and Lindsay and Vicky as your tutors. So welcome to everyone. Before I say a little bit about how this comment session is going to go and how future comment sessions may go, John has introduced into the chat room a survey for you to take on Agamemnon's approval rating. So find that in the chat room under the channel September 8th comment session and cast your vote. Is Agamemnon doing a good job as leader of the Achaeans? Do you approve of his job or do you not approve of it? And we want to see what you come up with in live real time. Now, before we go to Howard University, let me say just a couple of things about how these comment sessions are supposed to go. The comment sessions build on top of the experiences that students are having in their traditional brick and mortar classrooms or in online tutorials with our online tutors, and they build on the coursework that students do on their own. And we're really trying to be as original and as experimental as we can possibly be here to do the kinds of things that you can't do in your traditional classroom. Okay, so bringing people together from different areas, trying new things, getting people to converse in ways that they haven't conversed in before. So all of that is what we're aspiring to, and we see ourselves as students of leadership from a humanistic perspective. And what that means is we're interested in leadership as an ethical endeavor, as an emotional endeavor, something that involves art and language and storytelling, all of the things that are important to the study of the humanities. Okay, so are we good so far, John?
Yeah, everything is good.
Yeah.
Introducing each other. A few people are introducing themselves in the chat room. People, I think, encouraged to talk, say more in there. And again, if you can't see the little poll, just scroll up a tiny bit. We already have 16 votes in. Agamemnon is not doing very well, but a couple of people have voted for him.
So what are the numbers so far?
Right now, it is 81% to 19% no. Agamemnon people do not approve of his leadership in the Iliad.
So it's higher than Congress, is what you're saying.
Yes, that's true.
All right, cool. Well, let me get ready. I'm going to do my best Marco Rubio impersonation here. And now I'm going to introduce our students from Howard University. We have Pete, Troy, and Koniba here, who are all, as they say, from Howard University, undergraduates. They're going to, Koniba is going to be the interviewer, and Pete and Troy are going to talk about the problems of leadership that they feel like they're facing today, the aspects of leadership that they themselves want to address, and also how can we facilitate collaboration among students in this course. What would you like to learn from your fellow students in this course, not just the faculty? Okay, and so all of you can be discussing this in the chat room as we listen to Koniba and Pete and Troy. So welcome, guys. Can you all hear us?
Yes.
Wonderful. Well, welcome. Please say hello. Please give a shout out from Washington, D.C. and Howard University. We're very, very fortunate that we have you in the chat tonight, and thank you for agreeing to do this. Koniba, I'm going to turn it over to you for 8 full minutes. So this is Students Corner. This is all you. I'm actually going to go radio silent. So you're up, Koniba.
Hi everyone.
Can we show ourselves now? What's happening?
So we're gonna do a series of questions. The first question is, what do you see as major problems with leadership today?
Kaniba, if I had to respond to that question, the major problem of leadership today is the lack of honesty with who we are and like what we struggle with and the mistakes that we've made. I think honesty is such a big issue because if like you're unable to be honest and direct with like the mistakes you've made in your past or the things you don't even understand, then people can't help you. So you look at even the example of Agamemnon and his lack of honesty of like trying to own up to the mistakes he had made and how he had been deluded himself. And so I think that is like one of the biggest problems of leadership today.
Okay, what about you, Pete?
I would say, at least in the case of politicians, taking more risk. I mean, I'm mute myself. Hang on. Taking more risk. I think sometimes when it comes to having to serve the greater good, people feel like self-interest comes first. And so the whole concept of selfless service sometimes escapes leadership. And so some people know how to do it. I think I cite like this former Secretary of the Army right now. He is a prime example of kind of just stepping out during an election year when it was a lot of risk for him, losing his seat. But, it's just a matter of looking after the greater good that we have to get back to.
Okay, good. What are areas in which you believe that you can improve your own leadership?
Pete, I'm gonna let you go first this time.
Okay. I would say building more rapport with people. I think we get back to the idea of, hey, how can I better lead the people around me? I think it's probably got better communicating my vision or passion I have to my subordinates. But at least for my future career as an Army officer, I would say just leading, I don't know, just building people's skills.
So I think the first issue I gave of honesty definitely applies to me. It's probably the reason I gave that first issue. I think I've been like dishonest with myself and about my shortcomings and dishonest with myself about things that I'm not good at or things that like I can get better at. So that's one big thing. Another big thing is learning how to delegate. And I'm continuing to learn that because I grew up very much on the sense of like if it has to get done, I'm going to be the person to do it. And people may try to help, but I feel most comfortable when I'm the person doing it. So just learning that other people are just as gifted or just as talented as I am, and have something to contribute to the greater good as much as I want to contribute to the greater good.
Okay, good. would you like to learn from other students taking this course?
You gotta try.
I can go. I definitely want to understand what it means to be a leader on their campus, as opposed to what it means to be a leader on our campus. I think that's a really, really, really big thing, because I think if you asked, 100 Howard students, they would give you 100 different answers, and I'm sure the answers vary on different campuses. So like seeing what differences in leadership, although there may be similarities, understanding what those differences are in leadership on campus, and how they lead on campus. That also be a great thing to learn from other students.
Okay, fuck that.
Okay, what about you, Pete?
I would say something similar. Learning how each person eats in their own unique way. I think some of the great, better leaders know what their strengths and weaknesses are, and they act according to those strengths. And I think a lot of the originality of a leader can come through just being comfortable with yourself. And so I'm curious to see how other people kind of lead in their own way at their own campuses, and how they're kind of utilizing their personalities and how that's coming forth from the different things, great things they're doing there.
Okay, good. I'm gonna give it back over to Dr. Slater.
All right. Well, Kaniba, can I ask you? We didn't hear from you. Tell us your view on these questions, or pick one that is most interesting to you. You were just talking about all the leadership activity that you're involved with. Maybe you could share a little bit about that.
Well, I'd like to actually comment on the first question that I asked, which was some problems that I see with leadership today. And some problems I see with leadership today are honesty, like compromising, and foresight. Um, as far as like leaders in this country, like I'd like to just give the example of like Barack Obama. Like I feel like there's a lot of things like that he had to like compromise as far as like things that he said that he was going to do when he first like ran like in the 2008 election. Like he said he was going to close down like I think it's called Guadalupe, but he still hasn't been able to do that because he has opposing the opposing party fighting him. And then the second question was, what are areas in which you hope to improve your own leadership? I do want to improve my own leadership as far as like gaining confidence, and I think I can help myself do that by tackling my fear of public speaking. And the last question was, what would you like to learn from other students taking this course? Um, I'd like to learn how other students act like in the professional world and how they talk to people. And I think that's it.
All right, perfect. Well, you have all comported yourselves wonderfully here, and thank you for sharing these variety of perspectives, John. And so let's say bye to Troy and Pete and Kaniba, and thank you all so much. We'll see you again soon, I hope.
All right, guys.
Bye.
Take care. And so John, what's coming across in the chat? Any interesting insights into what people want to get out of the course from fellow students? I like this idea. I think it was either Troy or Pete who raised the point about learning kind of maybe some leadership profiles from the different students. I think that could be an amazing thing if we can figure out how to share what each some of the students are doing at the different institutions in the way of cultivating their own leadership.
Yeah, that's a good point. So I can make a little poll afterwards, and we can just quickly fill that out. Like, how are you cultivating leadership at your institution? And that'll mean that some of the patterns, some of the like virtues and skills and requirements for a good leader, actually, the chat room has been sort of trying to apply the issues that have come up. That he was asking about that Troy and Pete were responding to, trying to apply that to the case of Agamemnon and Achilles. So a few people were wondering, well, like well, somebody asked, like, who actually even voted for Agamemnon? Right? How come he's got more than a 0? Nice. Interesting question.
He's going to have, it's going to be an interesting debate to see who wins this election. So what are Agamemnon's stats right now before we move on to the next segment?
Right now, Agamemnon has a 17% approval rating out of 23
Still
votes.
better than Congress. Yeah. Okay. Still. So if you haven't voted yet, and I know you can't vote twice on these polls, please chime in and vote. Vote your conscience, as it were. You can totally do that because it's anonymous. So okay. Thank you so much, John.
I should point out it is not fully anonymous, actually. The Survey Gizmo polls that we'll be giving later are anonymous, but there is a way that I can see who voted for what, and I'm not going to reveal this.
Okay, so it sounds like everybody's pretty proud of their vote anyway.
Joel actually put Team Agamemnon hashtag in onto the field. A few of us were trying to understand how to improve rather than just critique Agamemnon. Delegation was an important theme. Listening to other people was an important theme. Distributed decision-making rather than sort of individual or dictator-like decision-making is something that came up. And then another question was, like, why are the other leaders listening to Agamemnon at all? Like, why don't they just ignore him? These are all important problems, actually. It feels a little bit like people are getting a little bit sympathetic for Agamemnon without even deliberately feeling well for Agamemnon, just understanding a little bit how.
I see. Nice. Okay, very good. Thank you so much. I want to transition now to just a few minutes to a segment that we call Deeper Cuts, where we try to apply scholarship in different fields, different techniques to getting a better understanding of leadership, and in this case, Agamemnon's leadership. One of the main points of this module was just to try to expand our understanding of just how many problems any given leader might face at a given time, and just how diverse the problems are, how interconnected the problems are. For tonight, I want to focus on the idea of leadership and dehumanization. A lot of the conversation that we just heard from the Howard students had to do with concerns about leaders being honest and making connection with their followers, being able to communicate with their followers. And so I want to introduce this idea of dehumanization that seems to be, if you saw the article by Joris and Lammers that was in this module, it seems to be kind of a natural part of leadership. So even as we critique Agamemnon and we think he's doing a terrible job and we dislike him, I think it's very important to recognize that the problems he faces, even if we want to say he's a jerk at the end of the day, the problems that he faces are real and they're pertinent to leaders today. So I'm going to bring up, I'm going to do a little bit of a screen share here and bring up just a brief PowerPoint presentation on dehumanization and leadership, if this will come up now. Okay. Here we go. Everyone should. John, are you able to see my presentation?
Yes, I can see dehumanization in contemporary research.
Good. Okay. Sorry, I put the cart before the horse. But, are you still there, John? Did I lose you?
Nope, I'm here.
Okay.
I was just thinking of a video for bandwidth's sake. Deeper Cuts, Emerging Themes, Dehumanization, Leadership. Yep, there we go.
Okay, so the question we're interested in now is why, to what extent do leaders dehumanize others, and why might they dehumanize others? And does the leadership role even dehumanize the leader? And this is an interesting question, I think, for those of us who are interested in any form of literature. That is, when we get the perspective of a leader, does the leader seem like a monster to us because that leader's humanity is compromised in certain ways? So I'm going to go briefly. I won't read this entire quote for you from three scholars of dehumanization. It's from a book I really like called Humaneness and Dehumanization that came out a couple years ago, and it explores the different facets of dehumanization in all sorts of different settings. But I like their emphasis on this idea that the greatest journey no amount of technology can overcome is one of psychological distance. So leaders figuring out ways to bridge psychological distance is sort of a key problem. The greatest voyage in modern life is not to move from one place to another, but rather to be able to move from one mind to another, to make that connection. And as we know from our reading of the Iliad, Agamemnon has a real problem in disrespecting and dehumanizing other people. And I'm just going to go down the list here. It's worth much deeper study at a later time. But of course, Agamemnon treats Chryses as a weak individual. He refers to him as an old man in very disparaging terms, and he dehumanizes Chryses in the sense that he doesn't believe Chryses is capable of actually retaliating the way he does by calling in a favor to Apollo. Of course, Agamemnon dehumanizes Achilles by belittling his warrior ability, treating him like a member of an out-group. The word that Achilles will later use in Greek is metanastes. This means someone who is outside of their home, someone who is homeless or a migrant. This is how Achilles feels Agamemnon has treated him. Sort of, just not a member of the community, not worth any respect. And Achilles will also complain that Agamemnon fails to recognize that Achilles loves Briseis. He'll later say in Book 9 of the Iliad, "Are the sons of Atreus alone among mortal men the ones who love their wives? Since any man who is a good man and careful loves her who is his own and cares for her, even as I now loved this one from my heart, though it was my spear that won her." So he's complaining basically that Agamemnon was completely oblivious to the fact that Achilles could form an attachment to Briseis in the same way that Agamemnon presumably can form attachments to other people. And of course, Chryseis herself is dehumanized. She's evaluated by Agamemnon in materialistic terms or mechanistic terms, to use the language of dehumanization. Does not seem to empathize with her situation or her wishes. And as I said in the introduction, Agamemnon may also be dehumanizing himself. That is, we can wonder whether or not, we can wonder about the extent to which the leadership role precludes leaders from feeling the normal range of human emotions, such as, the capacity for romantic love. Any of you have ever followed the careers of Mark Sanford or John Edwards or Anthony Weiner? These are all cases of people who were not, because of their leadership role, could not carry out the designs of their romantic ambitions. Leaders might also be incapable of feeling or showing regret and remorse. And those of us who think that the capacity for regret and remorse are actually positive things that can be redemptive things, and we might lament the fact that leaders may not be able to show this. There's a really neat and interesting book, just to call it to your attention, by Laurel Fulkerson, who's at the University of Florida State, called No Regrets, and it's about remorse in classical antiquity. And she says basically that elite males throughout classical antiquity are incapable, or they're not allowed to show remorse or regret, because it would be humiliating and it would compromise their status. Okay, just a few more bits of the research on dehumanization to put this on your radar. Nicholas Epley out of, I believe he's at Northwestern University, is one of the foremost researchers on this problem of dehumanization. And he characterizes it as a problem of lesser minds. That is, it's a challenge for all of us to treat the minds of other people as real and as sophisticated as our own, because we don't have access to their minds the way we do to our own. I mentioned this other book earlier, Humaneness and Dehumanization. The two dimensions of dehumanization that we talked about in the Joris and Lammers article are mechanistic human dehumanization, basically where you treat human beings as things or machines, and then so-called animalistic dehumanization, where you basically say that people don't have full range of cognition or full range of emotional experience. They're driven by lust or anger or more basic animal emotions.
Norman, can I ask a quick
yeah,
question?
Please. Yeah.
From the chat room.
Yeah.
Can you distinguish in this context dehumanization from just insulting? This is a good point that came up in the chat room, I think.
Yeah. Oh, just from insulting someone. Well, so dehumanization is a way of regarding someone, like you actually hold the view that someone is inferior in some way, like they have animalistic nature, or that they're like a thing, whereas an insult is obviously an act, and the act may derive from dehumanization, but dehumanization, as I say, arises from your theory of how someone else's mind works. And as I say, I mean, there are lots of really interesting explorations of stereotypes of dehumanization. What do we think of homeless people? What do we think of young people? What do we think of rich people? And these all have these different dimensions of mechanistic or animalistic dehumanization. Another question, John?
What do we think of Achilles' name calling of Agamemnon then?
Right. So, well, yeah, that would be, it would be worth wondering or worth asking, is Achilles right? Is he capturing Agamemnon's state of mind at this moment? Or is Achilles himself dehumanizing Agamemnon? In other words, like, some insults might actually be accurate. Maybe it is the case that Agamemnon is overly indulgent, or that he doesn't fight in the front lines of battle, and it's okay to insult him in the sense that the insult is accurate. But it would also, I mean, I like this question because it would also be worth wondering, does Achilles get it right? Is he dehumanizing Agamemnon or not? So just to wrap this up, and we can have further, I need to check the time, we can have further discussion. To me, the sort of crux of Agamemnon's dehumanization comes from his statement to Achilles, "Run away by all means if your heart drives you. I will not entreat you to stay here for my sake." Basically saying, you can go your own way, right? I don't need you. I have, I want nothing to do with you. There are others with me who will do me honor, and above all, Zeus of the councils. This is, I think, sort of the key to Agamemnon's delusion here, is that he has failed to treat Achilles as an individual, and as an individual with remarkable, not just remarkable, but superior martial ability. He's sort of lumped him in with the other Greek warriors, which is a phenomenon of dehumanization called de-individuation, right? And that's what Agamemnon does, and he relies on strength from Zeus, which, as you know from Greek mythology, is not always reliable. And
we might point out too, I think, that the de-individualization of Briseis and Chryseis here is something, again, that's implicit in the idea that they're just goods. They have a certain value. One girl is interchangeable for another.
Yes.
But later on, because Briseis actually does seem to have a close emotional relationship with Patroclus, it turns out she is an individual. She's not just some girl. She actually does.
You broke up there at the end, John, but I think I understand your point, and that's really well made. So let me just wrap this. Are you still there, John? I think you're breaking up, or you're breaking up for me.
Broke out for a second, but I'm back now. I can hear you.
Okay, great. So let me just wrap it up by saying, looking ahead, one of to me, the interesting transition points to Antony and Cleopatra in our next module might be that Antony and Cleopatra are too human as leaders. And as I say, do they go too far in humanizing their leadership roles by making it a leadership based on love and passion and romance? Do they let their personal feelings and interests get in the way of their leadership? The broader question is, how much should or can a leader try to get an accurate understanding of the experience and agency of her or his followers? And also, as always with our experiments in the study of leadership here, what can future leaders do to humanize their followers better? What can we do to encourage this? Okay, so I'm going to stop there. We are right on time with Are you still there, John?
I don't think the video is working for me. Oh, there we go.
There we go. Okay.
I am here. Yes.
Great. So we're going to wrap that up. If you want to toss in a question, well, I'm now going to invite our students from Findlay. Let me.
While you're doing that, I just wanted to wonder how, this is a general leadership problem, how you can avoid de-individualizing people as a leader when the number of people you're leading is greater than, let's say, 200 or whatever that, like Dunbar's number, kind of max thing that people can actually have a personal relationship with.
Yes, exactly. And the short answer is I don't have an answer to that question. I think it's a real challenge to figure out, how not to de-individuate, because leaders, of course, don't just lead hundreds of people; they lead thousands of people. And I've talked to leaders about this. People who lead large groups, and they say, it's a constant struggle not to stereotype people, like especially when you're doing fundraising and you have to go to 100 different residences and act like everybody is your best friend, but they're really kind of the same people to you. Then, as I say, that can be a real challenge. Okay, I've invited our. Oh, I have a mosquito here. I have invited our students from the University of Findlay. Hopefully, they can join us very soon. They, just to give you a heads up, they are going to be reenacting for us a debate over who would make the better leader of the Greeks, Agamemnon or Achilles. And one member of the group is going to represent Agamemnon, as though Agamemnon had hired them to advocate for him. One person will represent Achilles, and one person will moderate. So hopefully they are getting the invite now. Let's see. John, are you seeing, while we're waiting for them, are you seeing any interesting questions in the chat room about dehumanization and leadership?
Interesting point. Don't individuals take on the persona of the group? Thinking of the military here.
Mm.
So the idea here is, right, if you are trying to relate to a bunch of individuals as a leader, the group might be organized such that it tries to present itself to the leader as a large number of very similar individuals. So if you're relating to one, I guess, private or something like that, or one soldier, then the others kind of feel like you are relating to them as well, because they're similar, because their relationship is supposed to be and their persona is supposed to be similar. As Jennifer says, in the military, soldiers are held to a common standard, not an individual one. Does that make it easier for the leader? I'm not sure, actually. But it seems like that's part of the goal here.
I'm just stalling for time at the moment, trying to invite our friends from Findlay. Let me see.
One theme that has come up that a lot of people seem to be feeling is that Agamemnon maybe is dehumanizing less than Achilles, but he's insulting more than Achilles. The Tulane students have talked about this quite a bit. It's true, you can feel, I think for me, you can feel Achilles zinging Agamemnon and like getting in his face, and Agamemnon's reaction seems much less personal and much more about himself than it is about Achilles. And Joel is making a good point about the shepherd of the host, the poimen laon, the early Greek notion, the Near Eastern notion that the leader is the person who protects the group and cares about the group, just like the person who runs a sheep protects each individual sheep as well.
It's weird. It's like letting me open two Hangouts at once. Oh, maybe I can share the link. Oh, that would work.
I did lose video for you, Norman. I guess that's...
Oh, because I was trying the other Hangout. Let's see if this works.
Okay.
Oh, how is Agamemnon doing in his approval rating now?
Let me check that. His poll numbers, I suspect they haven't gotten all that much up. He's at 16% right now.
Oh, it's been going
Slightly
down
fallen.
steadily.
Yes. A good point too is that if the leader is, as is true in Homer, is described as the shepherd of the host, are the people sheep in that metaphor? And does that mean that they're dehumanized, or does it mean that they're described in ways that anybody who has really cared for animals actually stands and sympathizes with? I know that cats are not sheep, but to compare a human being to my cats would actually make me feel more affection for them.
Oh, yay!
Yay. All right.
All right. Can you all hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Wonderful. Hear me now?
Yes. Yes.
Perfect. And can you see me now? Yay. All right, here we go. Here we go. Not too much time wasted. Thank you so much, John, for handling that transition so smoothly. Now let me introduce you to Lauren, Diane, and Chase, who are for 8 minutes. For 8 minutes. Oh, somebody's trying to start a hangout. Oh, there we go. All right. Say no to that. You're busy right now. All right. So do you want to take it away, Lauren? I'm going to mute myself and hide myself. You guys have 8 minutes to make your best case for Agamemnon or Achilles. And Lauren is going to be the time tyrant. And Diane, remind me, you're representing Achilles, and Chase, you're representing Agamemnon.
The other way around, actually.
Oh, okay.
I'm representing Agamemnon.
All right. Good luck to you all. Let the best warrior win. Here we go. So I'm gonna sign off. You have 8 minutes. Make your best case, and good luck. Thank you.
Okay, well, let's start with opening remarks. Let's hear first from the representative for Achilles.
So I stand before you all today as not a representative of a highborn king, but rather as a representative of a warrior tried and true, Achilles. More importantly, I stand in front of you today due to the failure in leadership of Agamemnon, who selfishly squandered his spoils of war to the point that it caused undue hardship for his men, us. And more to the point, when he had the opportunity to fix that and to redeem himself, instead of sacrificing, he called on us to sacrifice, though we had already sacrificed everything that we had. Therefore, I call for the removal of Agamemnon and the replacement with Achilles. More importantly, I feel that Achilles is the most fit to lead. I feel this for multiple reasons. First of all, Achilles is someone that takes care of his troops and his soldiers and puts us first. Under Achilles' leadership, we will have the necessary infrastructure as well as the resources we need, both at rest and in battle. Beyond this, I feel that Achilles is most fit to be the commander of war due to the fact that he is a tried and true warrior. I feel that Achilles will do what it takes and fight for Greece, not because he's unable to control his women, but because he believes in the honor of Greece, and if we start a war, we will finish it. And third and finally, and most importantly, Achilles understands that he who fights the most earns the most. He will evenly split the spoils of war and will not be like Agamemnon, who sits on his high table and feasts until the war is done and takes what is best. Under Achilles' leadership, we will have fairness, equality, and most importantly, we'll have the best shot at the glory of Greece and the glory of our men.
Thank you for your opening remarks. Now we'll hear from the representative from Agamemnon.
Thank you. Agamemnon has ruled the Achaeans in prosperity. He demonstrates the Achaeans' power and honor with the glory of victory in battle. As our God's given king, Agamemnon is the most suited to lead his people to the path of highest glory for the Achaeans and to recover Menelaus' treasure from within the walls of Troy. We have fought for years here at the shores of Troy, but we have maintained our ships here and have not been driven away. The gods smile on our conquest of Troy and will reward our patience with victory under Agamemnon's leadership. As your ruler, Agamemnon must accept the highest prize because that is how the just and the orderly must behave. The gods do not bow to the whims of satyrs, and the king does not cede to the king's own warriors. To go against this order is to spit in the face of the gods. Achilles chooses to spit in the face of not only the gods, but his fellow warriors by turning away from battle the moment that his whims are not addressed. Agamemnon remains steadfast with his warriors despite his personal disputes. Thank you.
Thank you. And now I have a few questions for both of the representatives. So to the representative for Achilles. Achilles' quickness to anger and history of desertion worries some of the men. Why should we set aside these flaws? Why does he deserve to rule?
Achilles' quickness to anger only comes with a lack of reason. Agamemnon does not understand rationality nor reason, and Achilles does not follow leaders who are incapable of leading. Achilles' leadership will not lead to desertion. Under his leadership, we will be able to take back our glory and win this war.
Thank you. To the representative for Agamemnon. Agamemnon is unquestionably a powerful ruler and warrior, but his pride often blinds him. How would you respond to those who think he values his pride above the well-being of our troops?
Agamemnon's pride cannot be valued higher than the troops or the state because his pride belongs to the troops, as well as to Greece, that demonstrates our state's glory. Agamemnon demands the right to his high prize because it honors not only him but the entire Achaean army. A prize given to one warrior only belongs to one warrior, but the prizes awarded to the king are also the pride of the army that captures that prize. To deny the king the highest prize is to turn on the order of the gods themselves. Does Zeus defer his rightful awards to the lesser gods at his feet?
Thank you very much. My second and final question to the representative for Achilles. Achilles as representative, how would you react to Agamemnon being deemed leader? Would you follow him? Would Achilles set aside his anger and follow him?
No, I don't believe that Achilles would, nor would I follow him. A man that compares himself or has his representatives compare himself to Zeus is not a man that is fit to lead under any circumstance.
Thank you. Agamemnon's representative, how would you react to Achilles being deemed the leader? Would you follow him, and would Agamemnon swallow his pride long enough to follow him?
I foresee that rather than following him into battle, if Achilles were elected the leader of Achaeans, the Achaean army would shortly be defeated by the Trojans. If Achilles fought as the king, he would only lead our people into battle for as long as it personally suited him. Would Achilles consider his duty to Menelaus, to the glory of the Achaeans, greater than his personal preference for which battle he deems worthy of fighting? If Achilles' prowess in battle only extends the length of his own sword, and not into the hearts of all the warriors that fight by his side in battle, a true king like Agamemnon does not turn away from his people in the heat of battle.
Thank you. And thank you to you both for your fine representations for both of your candidates. I think that we can commence our pondering about who to vote for.
Do we have closing remarks?
We have extra time, I think.
Yes, you do both get closing remarks.
Okay. Then yes. To Achilles' representative first.
So, when it comes down to it, Agamemnon insists that Achilles has an incapability to lead. But I say to you, if Agamemnon and his brother is incapable to keep their women in line, how can they keep an army in line? Achilles has not this problem. Achilles is a tried and true warrior, and Achilles will not turn his own back on himself. Only in a world ruled by Agamemnon will there be any issues. Get rid of him and we get rid of the problem.
Agamemnon's representative, your response and closing remarks?
The greatest burden, the mantle of king, already rests on Agamemnon's shoulders, and as such the greatest prize should be awarded to him who fights not just man to man, but as the commander, who must lead the souls of the whole of the Achaean army, and has done so for the past 9 years. Agamemnon directs the swords of thousands to their glory, and ensures that should they fall in battle, their passages are marked with the highest honor. Unlike Achilles, whose pride urges the blameless Achaeans toward their own defeat, Agamemnon stands steadfast for his own people and will not turn away from them, unlike Achilles, who has done so already.
Thank you. Okay, so now I think we have a lot to ponder as we think about who should be our leader. Thank you.
All right, wonderful. Thank you all three so much for that engaging discussion. And Lauren, I have to say kudos to you. Did you mean to ask the same question that Republican candidates were asked about, who, if so-and-so is the winner, would you support him? Were you channeling that, or was this just a question of your own interest?
A little of both. I was thinking about this as I was doing questions as like a presidential debate. So that was in my mind.
Excellent, excellent. So much fun. Thank you all three. Wait 1 second. Let me, and I meant to do this for the Howard students, by the way. Apologies, no disrespect meant to the Howard students. I'm trying to get good at sound effects. So here we go. All right, excellent. Thank you, all three. Best wishes to you for this semester at Findlay. And again, I hope we see you all soon. Take care and see you later. Now, as we transition, fantastic. We've got Joel is all ready to go. Lindsay will hopefully be joining us soon. So John is going to be posting now a survey, Gizmo survey, one of the tools that we're going to be using a lot in this class, that will ask you to vote for either Agamemnon or Achilles. There are no third-party candidates, no write-ins. You like it or lump it, it's going to be one of those two leaders. So please complete that survey as quickly as you can so we have the results by the end of this evening. And I want to turn things over now for 6 minutes to Lindsay and Joel to share with us this little segment we call Notes from the Classroom. They're going to share their experiences teaching ancient leadership. This can be tips for other faculty as well as other students for how you might get the most out of it. So welcome, Joel, and welcome, Lindsay. Thank you both so much for joining us. Take us home. You're the last segment.
Hey, Norman, how are you doing today? Thanks for setting this up. I think as I reflect on it, what's really interesting is that each of us are teaching in very different contexts, not just our student bodies, but the actual types of classrooms they're in. So Lindsay, I'm really eager to hear about your experience in the tutorial. How does this material work, and how do you approach it with small groups?
So for those of the students who don't know, we are doing a tutorial online once a week with non-matriculating participants. And my first group was on Sunday at 6. It was a small group. We had four participants, one who couldn't join, and another who had technical issues. So it was myself and 2 other participants. And it was because it's kind of a lot like the first day of class, right, which is sort of everybody feeling each other out and seeing what they're comfortable with and all of that, and figuring out the technology. We just kind of did an open discussion, basically, and it was the same for my second one last night.
So how'd you start them out? Like, what was your plan for getting them sort of up to speed about the content rather than, say, the technology?
Right. Well, we introduced ourselves and talked about our backgrounds a little bit and why we were interested in the course, and then I just jumped right in with some discussion questions about the leadership problems that were in the module, and asking what made Agamemnon a poor leader. And I got a lot of different answers. I got a lot about him being quick to anger, and one participant pointed out that he was not very charismatic, which I thought was something that was interesting that hadn't come up in the module. And from there, we just kind of talked about different things that came up about anger and emotions, and we just kind of jumped from one topic to the next, sort of free, open conversation.
So you really sort of let student response to the material sort of guide where the discussion went.
Yeah. And if it kind of came to a stopping point, then I had other questions prepared to say, okay, well, what about this aspect of it? Or so, for example, I would try to tie it into today's political debates, or I would talk about the threat of rivals today, or how leaders deal with advisors. and particularly talking about Nestor. So yeah, I would change the topic if I felt like we had sort of addressed everything in one topic and we were ready to move on.
That ticking clock means we have about 3 more minutes. I just want to give you a heads up.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it sounds, Lindsay, that what you get to do is have some really sort of close and intimate conversations based on the material when you're working in such small groups.
Yeah. It's a close look at the text without really, necessarily having the text in front of us. But everybody, it seemed to me, read the text very closely and had specific passages that they wanted to talk about. And I really enjoyed hearing all the different perspectives from everybody. For people who had read this a long time ago and were reading it again, from people who are extremely familiar with this text, or people who had military experience. I just found it all very fascinating. They were all very willing to talk about their experience with the text.
I think that's one of the things that students don't always see us doing, is trying to get them to bring their experience into the classroom. So when you have small groups, people are more willing to do that, but in larger courses like Norman has, and sometimes you have to come up with various strategies. So I try to I break them into smaller groups. I try to get everyone talking by having them write something first, and then we all go around and just talk about a response to a prompt, and really try to do, I think, what you're doing, which is sort of make those individual connections that sort of brings everything alive and makes it vital when you're together.
Yeah, I was gonna. What is the size of the class that you're working with?
Well, mine it's only 12 students, so it's not that big, right? But as soon as you get a conversation above 2 or 3 people, some people get left out, and you lose perspectives.
Yeah, so you break them into smaller groups and have them. Okay.
Yeah, I go around and do that. I have a trick that I've been using in classes for years where I'm worried that people might not know the material, and I break them into multiple groups, and I have one group outline the plot of what we just read, and another group come up with a list of themes, and then they teach each other. And we do this in about 10 minutes, and so everybody gets up to pace, and then we can move forward from there. So I did things like that in the first few classes to try to get everybody talking and everybody involved.
Oh, that's a good suggestion.
1 minute. 1 minute.
I was curious. I wanted to know if in your class discussions, if they took sides on if you had students that were on Achilles' side and Agamemnon's side, and if you let them fight it out.
95% of them were Team Achilles.
Yeah.
So I turned around and I just became, the devil's advocate.
Yeah.
I will argue for Agamemnon, and I think I moved about 10 to 15%. All right.
That's good.
It might seem minor, but if you put me out on the street during polling season, that might be a big enough percentage.
Yeah.
All right, and with that, let me thank you both. What a tremendous, efficient use of time there. And the award for Best Sound System of the evening, I think, hands down, must go to Joel. Best lighting for the evening goes to Lindsay. You guys both present terrifically well. Joel, you're going to have to tell me where you get that mic from. You sound like you're in a helicopter. It's very authoritative, like you're ready to go into battle.
Call me your captain.
Yeah, exactly. Papa. Okay, fantastic. But so thank you both. Have you had a chance to cast your votes?
I put up my hashtag, Team Agamemnon.
But did you actually vote in the election?
Oh, our current one?
No, so John put a survey gizmo poll up, so you go in and make sure you both cast your votes before we get the final results.
I'm doing it right now on my other monitor.
I will vote.
Excellent.
Polls are closing.
So you guys, polls are closing, John. All right. So fantastic. While Lindsay and Joel are casting their votes, I want, and we're going to get the final results from John here in just a moment. I want to give everybody a heads up for the common session next week. As of right now, we're transitioning into our next module called I Know What Boys Like, the great song, a great 80s song from the Waitresses that will lead us into a discussion of Antony and Cleopatra. And Mallory Katerine at Tulane will be leading this discussion with us next week. She will be your MC. We're going to change it up every week, different hosts, different chat room monitors. So keep your eyes out for that. Next week will be very exciting. There will be a lot of points of continuity, I think, with the Agamemnon and Achilles quarrel, but a whole new world. It's a Roman and Egyptian setting now. We're fast forwarding over 500 years. Technically, really more like a millennium, if you take Homeric culture as being a 11th or 12th century BCE phenomenon. We're going all the way to the 1st century BCE. It will be a great time. And thank you all. Thanks again to everyone who participated in this evening. It was a huge production, elaborate production, but I think everything went fabulously well for as many moving parts as we had. And I want to thank everybody who participated in the chat room. So as we wrap it up now, it's right at 8 o'clock. John, so John, could you tell us first what were Agamemnon's final approval ratings? What was his approval rating? And then could you tell us the results of the election? And I can even hear, here we go. Are you there, John?
All right, Agamemnon's final approval rating was 16, oh no, lower than 16%. Let me read it. Was, yep, 15%.
Whoa,
and the
okay.
Results, a little bit down. The result of the election, however, from 18 votes, 72% believe that Achilles should be leader of the Achaeans, and 20% believe that Agamemnon should be leader of the Achaeans.
That's interesting to me. So congratulations to Achilles. All right. Good luck, Achilles, leading the Greeks into the Trojan War. I would really love to see what that would look like. If somebody wants to do an alternate Trojan War universe, casting Achilles as the leader, I think that could be a fun artistic experiment. But it's interesting to me that even as low as Agamemnon's approval rating was, some people at least preferred him to Achilles. Maybe even people who said he did a terrible job, they still thought he was doing a better job than Achilles, which I think is an interesting point we could ponder further. But anyway, we will sign off now. I want to thank you, John, for being so vigilant throughout, for helping with the transitions, keeping polls, keeping statistical data for us. I should let everybody know John is a brilliant stats guy and a tech genius, and he's going to be monitoring this course for us throughout and giving us very interesting results to tell us, kind of how things are working from the quantitative perspective. But thank you to John, and good night to you, and good night to everybody else.
Good night, all. Thanks, Norman.
Thank you.